The 1980s will always be remembered by auto fans as a time of severe pollution laws that produced dreadfully dull economic cars that lacked any thrill. Even recognizable nameplates that were formerly connected to performance and enjoyment behind the wheel had to change in order for manufacturers to survive. However, one cannot but admire how fast these cars are. These are the fastest muscle cars of the 1980s. We are talking about speed. That is why we have the Buick GNX with a top speed of 124 miles per hour at number 10. Crowning the G-body platform, the Buick Regal is the final muscle vehicle that Buick has ever produced. This is because Buick discontinued the boxy coupe in 1987 with the Buick Grand National Experimental. From the standard Regal, the high-performance model was a stark contrast. One of the best automobile titles, Darth Vader's car, was given to the GNX because of its all-black look. Below the hood, the automobile was just as remarkable. Being devoid of a large V8 engine, the Buick GNX is among the rare American muscle cars that many still hold the title of fastest car in the world, particularly in the 0 to 60 mile per hour sprint. This is mostly because the car's power and torque ratings are somewhat low. The Chevrolet Corvette of that era was not as fast as this one, which surprised GM. Collectors aspire to possess one of the rare 547 GNX models that were produced. Much more accessible are the non-GNX Regals with the same engine. At number 9, we have the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS with a top speed of 127 miles per hour. Another outdated brand that was negatively impacted by the pollution period was Chevy's Monte Carlo. Still, thrilling iterations of the Monte Carlo, like the SS, were made available. Even though it was tuned incorrectly, the powerful 305 small block V8 produced respectable performance at the time. The nice thing is that since the 305 V8 is a well-known engine, aftermarket components and experts in removing more ponies from it are widely available. 1982 models were built on the more modern G-body chassis rather than the A-body, which resulted in reduced weight, a somewhat larger wheelbase, and improved suspension in certain cases. The comparatively low curb weight of 3,239 pounds, 1,469 kilos, and the 3.73 to 1 rear gears which replaced the 3.42 to 1 gears on earlier models are two more of the Monte Carlo SS's redeeming features. Coming in at number 8, we have the Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe with a top speed of 133 miles per hour. Although the 1983 to 1988 Thunderbird Turbo Coupe may have been the larger, more opulent sister of the Mustang, Ford's Thunderbird is sometimes disregarded when it comes to performance. It was even equipped with the same 4-cylinder, turbocharged engine as the Fox body Mustang SVO. Despite having a wheelbase that was 3.7 inches longer in the Thunderbird than the Mustang, both cars were built on the same Fox chassis. It was only until recently that the 9th generation Ford Thunderbird was recognized as a neglected, less expensive option to the Mustang that it was valued. Despite being fuel efficient, its drawback when it was new was that it was too antiquated. It was never as popular as Ford had hoped, but at least it had a reasonably powerful turbo engine. Add to that the fact that it was targeted at the BMW 6 Series and Jaguar XJS, and you can understand why. At number 7, we have the Ford Mustang SVO, with a top speed of 137 miles per hour. The American pony car began to recover in popularity with the Ford Mustang, called the Fox body, which debuted in 2003. Ford developed a modular architecture called the Fox body for a range of small sedans and coupes. Compared to the previous model, it was much better since it was lighter and more agile. Not until the mid-1980s did the Mustang Fox body come in powerful forms. Even though Ford would eventually release the SVO in 1984, the 1980s would see the arrival of the suitably potent V8 Mustang. A 4-cylinder turbocharged engine replaced the V8 in this performance edition of the Fox body. Redesigned from the Pinto, it surprised everyone by having an engine as strong as the legendary 5.0, seen in the first Fox body Mustang GT models. Now at number 6, we have the Ford Mustang GT, with a top speed of 142 miles per hour. The 5.0 is one of the most recognizable numbers connected to the Ford Mustang. Even the dull, second generation of the Fox body Mustang featured exciting variants. Thus, its legitimacy as a muscle car was called into doubt in the early model years when there was no true, performance-oriented V8. Additionally, the 5.0 returned for 1987 with a horsepower rating of 225. 4-speed manual gearboxes were replaced by 5-speed ones. Until the SVT Cobra was released in 1993, this Mustang was the most powerful model and among the fastest American vehicles available for purchase in the 1980s. At number 5, we have the Chevrolet Corvette C3 350 Special, with a top speed of 147 miles per hour. Most people agree that the third generation Corvette is the most exquisite model ever produced. Its 14-year manufacturing run makes it the most manufactured Corvette generation to date. The fiberglass body was dubbed by the Coca-Cola Corvette because it adhered to the same design principles as the Coca-Cola bottle. Regrettably, the C3 Corvette was impacted by the pollution period. Although the model was introduced in 1968, only a small portion of the Vette's exceptional performance is present in anything produced after 1971. The 454 big block was removed in 1984, replacing the chrome bumpers with flush mounting molded urethane components. The 350 small block continued to be the top engine in the lineup. The L82 350 V8 revived some performance and saved the C3 Corvette from the constraints of the pollution period. Here at number 4, we have the Pontiac Firebird formula with a top speed of 151 miles per hour. Same as the Fox body Mustang, the third generation Pontiac Firebird had the same destiny. Even though Pontiac's model was released a few years later, it had to meet the most recent regulations for fuel efficiency and emissions. While the L98 350 Chevy V8 was a frustratingly sluggish version overall, it was still a performance vehicle with some great attributes. And above all, the public knows and trusts the small block as a tested and trustworthy unit. Numerous kits are available, thus many instances have had their engines changed or altered. It was a lost chance that the automobile did not come with a manual gearbox option, but many legendary cars were forced to comply with smog-era emission restrictions. At number 3, we have the Chevrolet Camaro IRC Z with a top speed of 151 miles per hour. There are few vehicles that better capture the spirit of 1980s America than a third-generation F-body Camaro. In contrast to a C3 Corvette, the Coke bottle design was much more subtle, but still there. In a period when boxy, angular designs were popular, the Camaro stood out in this respect. It nearly aspired to be an inexpensive exotic. It was reasonably priced, but you had to upgrade the IROC Z if you wanted to go more quickly. At this point, the TPI engine was matched with updated suspension that included larger sway bars, high-performance shocks, and more, making the 350 V8 its best. The IROC Z came perilously close to having all these features as standard equipment on the Corvette. The Camaro IROC Z was around 30% less expensive than a C4 Corvette in terms of price, but their performances were nearly identical. Now at number 2, we have the Pontiac 20th Anniversary Trans Am Turbo with a top speed of 153 miles per hour. Parts may be exchanged between models from several manufacturers because GM owned a few automakers. This gave rise to a number of noteworthy and sometimes overlooked performance vehicles, such as the 1989 Pontiac Trans Am Turbo 20th Anniversary. As the name implies, it commemorated the model's 20 years of existence as an affordable substitute for the Chevy Camaro. The Trans Am Turbo in this instance shared an engine with the Buick Regal Grand National, while in the past, Pontiac created certain engines particularly for their vehicles. The production numbers are thought to have been underestimated, much like with the Grand National. Even by today's standards, the Trans Am ran the quarter mile in 13.4 seconds, with a trap speed of 101 miles per hour. Finally, at number 1, we have the Chevrolet Corvette C4 with a top speed of 157 miles per hour. Although the 4th generation Corvette was once seen to be the model's low point, opinions on it have recently begun to change. The C3's Coke bottle shape was replaced with a considerably sleeker form, and for the first time, molded plastics instead of fiberglass were used to construct the body. That being stated, It is believed that cars built after 1994 have urethane bumpers and are composed of fiberglass. Although the 350 V8 engine is a standard feature of most vintage Corvettes, the L98 engine of the C4 was more fuel efficient and included roller hydraulic lifters. The C4 was available with a Doug Nash 4+3 manual with an overdrive, which was simply a Borg Warner T10 with an overdrive tacked on it that could be switched on or off with a button press, depending on the model year. Even while it was intriguing, the gearbox didn't quite match the C4 Corvette's aggressive style. What do you think about these cars? Are they worth it? Thank you for staying through till the end. Kindly like and subscribe.